Hello everyone and welcome. Tonight we are going to be playing some Legacy Magic the Gathering. We are going to be giving this deck here a spin. This is the Eldrazi Post deck, signifying by the Cloud Posts and the Glimmer Posts that are currently located in the mana base. As it currently stands, the Legacy metagame is filled with control decks. Everyone is playing either Grixis Control or Blue-White Miracles. Those are by far and away the two most popular decks in the format, and one good thing about them is that allows a deck like this to be pretty well positioned. Neither one plays Wasteland, so that is a big reason that this deck is viable. One of the things you do have to watch out for is the Delver decks. I mean, the Delver decks do still play for Wasteland, but they're definitely becoming fewer and fewer in the current metagame. For anyone who does not know what this deck is, you are trying to power out some giant Eldrazi. Your top end here has 2 Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, and you also have some of the smaller Eldrazi as part of your package. You have 4 Matter Reshaper, 4 Thought-Knot Seer, then you're playing Endbringers and Reality Smashers, along with 4 Walking Ballista. Your main interaction, you have 4 Chalice of the Void, and you go back to Trinisphere. One other thing that does let you help power these out is you get to play Grim Monolith. This lets you tap for an additional 3 mana. So this is a very powerful card in letting you speed out some of your giant monsters. And one new addition to the deck is you do get to play Karn, Scion of Urza. This is from Dominaria, and this is a new addition to the Legacy metagame. This is one of the few decks that really gets to play it, this one, and sometimes you see it in the mono red prison decks, but it gives you some nice colorless card advantage. As far as your sideboard is concerned, you're playing a lot of anti-combo cards. Your main deck is set up pretty well against the fair decks, so your sideboard is going to be a lot of anti-combo. You have 4 Leyline of the Void, 4 Thorn of Amethyst, and 2 Ensnaring Bridge. The Ensnaring Bridge can be dual purpose. You can bring them in against Sneak and Show because they're never going to be able to attack through them, or sometimes you can bring them in the mirror if you're worried about falling behind. And then you have a couple cards that round you out against some of the fair decks where Trinisphere and Chalice are not great. You have Umezawa's Jite, All Is Dust, and an extra Sorceress's Spyglass for the Wasteland matchups. But this is going to be our deck. We are going to be hopping in a Legacy League, and we are going to see how it goes. As a whole, I do think this deck is very well positioned right now. You do have a favorable matchup against the control decks, which I would generally plan on playing against multiple times throughout the course of a tournament. Like I said, currently Grixis Control and Miracles are the 2 most popular decks and the 2 best performing decks. So you definitely want to have a good game plan for them. Alright, so let's see here. Round 1, we are going to be on the draw. This hand is not very fast, but I do believe this is a keep. We have double Eldrazi Temple, lets us power out our Endbringer faster, and we can, if we're playing against a combo deck, we can also play the turn 2 Trinisphere. So this is going to be a keep. Tarn into a basic island, which I'm going to say probably means a control deck. Yeah, the fact that they didn't do anything here the first 2 turns means it's probably a control deck. So that being said, we're just going to go Temple and play our Grim Monolith. If they want to counter it, that's fine. We don't really care. Now I think I am going to actually fire off this Trinisphere here. mean, the alternative is we can save it for next turn and we can play an Endbringer next turn. But if this is a control deck and this is Miracles or something else along those lines, we could be in a lot of trouble. The one thing that I am slightly worried about is if this is Miracles, if they just untap and play a Back to Basics, we could be in a lot of trouble. But we don't really have a good way around that. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to play the Trinisphere here and hope we don't get Back to Basic. Alright, so our opponent is choosing to brainstorm in response here. Could be good news, could be bad news. Maybe we'll get some kind of sign here about what our opponent is actually playing. Looks like they are going to Force of Will. Force of Will pitching a Snap. Snap is unusual. It's not very often you see that card. So it looks like our opponent is playing some kind of brew here. Alright, so I am just going to play our Matter Reshaper. And then we can play Vesuva tapped, copying an Eldrazi Temple. That'll free us up this following turn to play our Endbringer. And a couple turns, we're going to get the Ulamog, our opponent. Force Spike. You got me. So I don't know, maybe our opponent's playing some kind of mono blue Delver deck or something along those lines. That's what it looks like. So we're not going to run into Force Spike again, so we're going to play our land first. And it resolves. That is good news for us. I mean, they're being very aggressive with their brainstorms here. Snapcaster, sure. And a Thought Scour. So they're going to get to mill over the two cards that they kept on top of their deck. They're playing High Tide. So I wonder if this is like a High Tide combo deck, or if they're playing some kind of a value game here. Like, this is interesting for sure. I mean, normally High Tide doesn't play stuff like Force Spike. But that could be just what they're doing. They're also playing Accumulated Knowledge, which is mildly interesting. Alright, so this turn we're going to look to untap this Grim Monolith, I think. That way we can Ulamog next turn. So if that's what we're going to do, we can attack with the Endbringer. I guess that's going to be our first order of business. I would assume a chump block is probably coming here. Unless they want to snap back their Snapcaster Mage. Which is fine if that's what they want to do. Sure. Alright, so second main, we'll play our land, and then we'll just say go. They want to cast a Brainstorm. I think I'm going to respond to the Brainstorm here. Just in case they're playing Stifle. Now on our opponent's turn here, we get to draw an extra card with the Endbringer. Another land. I would really like to find a Trinisphere or a Chalice of the Void here. So we currently have 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 mana. So we have definitely enough to Ulamog this turn. I guess we're going to attack with our Endbringer first. So I think what I'm going to do here is we're going to play an untapped land. That'll give us 12 mana to cast this Ulamog. It would be pretty embarrassing to get your Ulamog double dazed or double force spiked. So let's not do that. We got our cast trigger on our Ulamog. We can hit a Tundra and an island. Opponent looks to be casting a High Tide, sure. Okay, they want to reset. And they would like to Intuition, sure. Well, that's pretty cool. So they're going to get to accumulated knowledge and draw a bunch of cards next turn. Which means they are looking for action. Sure. Okay, so they're going to draw 4 cards. So they got to reload their whole hand. Now, I'm curious. I don't know if they can win at instant speed here. Time Spiral is a sorcery. So maybe they can win on instant speed. Another Snapcaster. Well, they successfully reloaded their hand here this turn with that accumulated knowledge and a couple of meditates. Snap back a Snapcaster. That's pretty good. So my plan here, second main phase, was to blow up the 2 Snapcasters so they couldn't make that play, so they couldn't snap back to Snapcaster and get another rebuy on a spell. But I was not aware that they were trying to win here at instant speed. At least that's not what was on my initial radar. Had that been the case, I don't know if that really would have changed the way we did anything. So their plan is to brain freeze us. Yeah, unfortunately, this guy does not shuffle back in. So they're milling 3 cards, so that's 45 cards. Storm is 16, so it's 16 times 3, 32, 48. Oh yeah, I guess they got it. Alright, we'll play to our opponent. Alright, so now we are aware that they can win at instant speed, so that might change the way we do things. Alright, so fortunately our game 1 is not great against Storm, but we do have a lot of cards we get to bring in here post sideboard. We get to bring in 4 Thorn of Amethyst and 4 Leyline of the Void. Cards we do not want are Ulamogs. We do not need Sorceress Spyglass. So they're splashing white. The fact that they're splashing white makes me think they might be playing something like Monastery Mentor in their sideboard. We didn't see a single white spell game 1, so that is one thing to keep in mind, so we don't get demolished by Monastery Mentor tokens. So I am going to keep this Ratchet Bomb in. And there might be merit to keeping in the All is Dust, but let's see what we've got here and what we want to cut. So this is definitely not going to be a Karn matchup. We want Grim Monoliths, we want the low end stuff, we want our creatures that interact, so we want Thought-Knot Seer, Smasher's a fast clock, Endbringer's a little slow, so we're going to, let's cut one of those. I mean, Matter Reshaper is not great. That's probably another card we can get rid of. Let's see, cut 2 Matter Reshapers. Yeah, I guess the only other option here is if we want to keep bring in the All Is Dust. I mean, honestly, those might just be better than the Matter Reshapers altogether, just in case. Like, that gives us a good catch-all to the Monastery Mentor plan if that's what they're doing, so I think that's what we're going to do. We're not winning the game here off of Matter Reshapers. This hand is unfortunately one land away from being really good. If any of these other spells were a second land, I would keep this. But the fact that this is only a one land, I don't think we can keep this. Leyline's fine, but I don't think it's good enough that it's going to win us the game. So I'm going to go to 6 here. Alright, this hand's fine. Thorn we will definitely keep. We have to put a Leyline in. Play a Cloud Post, and say go. Now next turn we get to play a Chalice, and then the following turn we can play the Thorn. I mean, this does run into Daze and Force Spike, but it is what it is. We're not going to try and slow roll this. We're trying to play on curve here this game, so there's no reason for us to try and slow roll our card there. I mean, we might be in a little bit of trouble if they have another Force Spike here, but it's going to be really annoying. Yeah, they got it. Unfortunately, we don't have another land, otherwise we could really punish them. Yep, and there it is. There's the Monastery Mentor. So that is some bad news for us. Ancient Tomb, unfortunately, you might be a little too late. Alright, so they're out of cards, and we have a chump blocker. So this game might not be over. We might have a chance. If we can draw a land next turn and play an Endbringer, we might be decent, or like a Ratchet Bomb. We definitely have outs here to keep this game competitive. But now they just get to attack around the Thought Knot. Ancient Tomb is a tough one to draw. I mean, we gotta deal ourselves some damage here. But we're gonna have to do it. I think our best bet's gonna have to be to hope they don't. They're going to have to brick for a couple turns here, otherwise we're just going to get run over by these Mentor tokens. But if we can get a couple turns here, we might be able to stabilize the board. Chalice is interesting. I don't really want to play... I don't really want to play this other Endbringer now. I mean, we're at 9. So in order for us to play this Endbringer, we're going to have to go to 5. Going to 5 is going to be a big cost. So I think what we're going to do is we're just going to play Chalice this turn instead. Okay, so Chalice, we're going to shoot down one of these Mentor tokens. Drew a reset. I do have to give it to our opponent. They are playing a pretty sweet deck. I do like it. Brainstorm. Alright, so... I think we're just dead here. Alright, so all the triggers happen. Sure, do your thing. I did not do the math, but I am assuming we're probably dead. Yeah, so if you block the 2 Mentors, you can shoot the Snapcaster. We're still taking 10. Alright, they got it. Alright. Well, I mean, they got us with a double 4 spike that second game, but we missed our land drop there that turn, so there wasn't anything we were going to do about that. And it doesn't make any sense for us to hold on to our disruption spells, because giving them more time just benefits them. We didn't have the lands to unfortunately play around the 4 spikes, so they were going to get us with them if they had them. Alright, round 2, here we go. Hopefully we get a better pairing here. But what I am going to do here is we're going to pull up last week's Legacy Challenge, and we're going to see what was going on. So the 6-0 bracket was 2 Dredge and 2 Eldrazi decks, and an Elves, which is interesting because these 5 decks should all be favored against the control decks. So you see how the metagame is starting to warp around the control decks. People are starting to play the decks that are good against control. There was one Grixis control that was 6-0. You have double Ad Nauseam, another Eldrazi post. So you do see the difference here in the way the field is starting to shape up. It's people that are playing the control decks and the people that are playing the decks that are designed to beat the control decks. So a very interesting way that this metagame here is starting to shape up. One thing to note is the North American Eternal Weekend is coming up in a couple weeks, so there's going to be a lot of people online, I'm sure, that are testing for that Legacy event. This hand we are going to keep. We do not have any creatures to currently attack with, but we get to go turn 1 Chalice, turn 2 Trinisphere. So that in and of itself is good enough to beat a lot of decks. So hopefully we're playing a matchup where those cards are good. I mean, this is a hand that we would have loved to have against our opponent last game. Basic Mountain. I'm going to say let's hope that this is burn and not the mono-red prison deck. We are going to have a tough time beating the mono-red prison deck, so because all 3 of these cards, Chalice of the Void, Trinisphere, and Spyglass, do virtually nothing against them. Spyglass is mediocre at best. You can name Chandra, Torch of Defiance, but these other 2 cards are both terrible. Not to mention Blood Moon is terrific against us. So we are going to cross our fingers and hope that this is burn. Unfortunately, it is not. Alright, well, this game definitely just got more challenging. These cards do not do a whole heck of a lot. I mean, we're going to die very fast to this Rabble Master if we cannot figure something out. So we're going to name Chandra, Torch of Defiance. That's by far the best card that we can name in this matchup. And they drew the land, so they get to play Rabble Master. We have no creatures we can play, so we need to pass. And we're probably just super dead. We need to draw Basic Waste to have a mild chance, and even that's pretty bad for us. Alright, so this is going to be a really rough matchup. The fact that they're playing 8 Blood Moons in their main deck against our deck with 2 basics. Yeah, we currently have 2 basics. So this is going to be a rough one. We're going to bring in GTAs. Chalice of the Voids come out. Yeah, so GTA and all his dust come in. Chalice of the Void gets to come out. Trinisphere is also going to come out. Both of those cards are terrible. So our sideboard, unfortunately, is not really designed for this kind of matchup. We get to bring in the other Spyglass. And basically, we're going to have to bring in one really bad card. All of these cards that are left are not good. They're really bad. So it's basically going to be choosing the lesser of evils. We're not going to care about Bridge, because Bridge is worse for us than it is for them. Leyline does nothing. Chalice does... I mean, you can Chalice for 0. It's not good, but it can shut off like Lotus Petal and Chrome Mox if they have it. So that might be the best card that we have left. Like I said, Trinisphere does basically nothing. So I think that's the way we're going to submit this. Ideally, I would just like to not draw this Chalice of the Void. Alright, let's see here. So this hand goes double Cloud Post into a big Walking Ballista. But unfortunately, the best we're going to do with this hand is we're going to play a turn 3 Walking Ballista for 3. which I think is just not going to be good enough. We're going to throw this back. I guess we'll keep this hand. I will definitely keep this GT. That is a good one. Alright, so we get to go Cloud Post, and then we get to play a turn 2 Matter Reshaper, and then the following turn we can play GT, equip it, and attack. So it's going to really depend on what our opponent decides to do here. Looks like a turn 1 Blood Moon. They have double Spirit Guide. So if that's the case, this game's over. Yeah, like, this matchup is just horrendous. Our only hope is that maybe we can Karn, make a token, and equip the GT and attack. Like, that's what we're hoping for right now. But they have a super sick draw. Alright, if they attack with everybody here, I'm not going to block. At this point, our plan is going to have to be to equip GT and attack to try and get this Magus of the Moon off the board. Oh, and they have a Spyglass too, so our opponent just had everything. Everything they needed. Like, actual everything. They had the turn 1 Blood Moon, and the Fast Clock, and the Disruption for our only way out of this game. Alright, well that was a savage beating, but there was nothing we were going to do in that match. It's funny because that mono red prison deck is it's not a great deck in its own right, but there's some matchups that when you play against that they are just total buys, and the Cloud Post deck is one of them. The Cloud Post deck has to have a very specific hand in order to try and beat those decks. But you're never beating a turn 1 Blood Moon, not when they have the pressure to back it up. Alright, round 3, here we go. Let's hopefully get a little bit of a better pairing than that last round. This hand we will keep. We are going to lead on our Chalice. One note is if you have a Chalice, you always lead on Chalice. Just because it beats so many decks. Looks like we're playing against Death Shadow. Death Shadow is the only deck that really plays Street Wraith outside of Dredge. And they have a turn 1 Delver. Alright, so we're going to play the Spyglass and name Wasteland. They're also playing Hymn to Turok in the main, which is interesting. Most of those decks play him in the sideboard. Fortunately for us, our hand is really bad, so even if they cast the hymn, they're not really discarding anything super relevant. Even if they hit our two best cards with Cloud Post and Grim Monolith. But we do get to keep our two best cards, which is nice for what it's worth. So next turn, Cloud Post is going to add 2, 1, so it's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I will play the Grim Monolith here. If we draw a double land, we can actually cast our Ulamog next turn. That's unfortunate. The only good thing about discard spells from our end is they can't discard the cards that are on the top of our deck. That's a little awkward, because in order for us to play that, we either have to use our Grim Monolith or use our Ancient Tomb, both of which are not great propositions. But we'll save the 2 life from the Ancient Tomb. So we need to draw our 1 Ratchet Bomb. In order to deal with this Delver. I found a Death Shadow, sure. Grim Monolith. Alright, I'm going to play it and pass. So I guess this gives us an out to draw our Ulamog next turn. Our last Ulamog. Okay, so we have to block the Death Shadow. And we'll take a draw step. No such luck. I don't know, this league has been a super beating so far. Alright, so what do we not want? We're going to cut the Karns. I'm going to cut the Ulamogs. They're just too slow. Bridges are interesting because if you get to put a bridge in play, you can just kill them with an Endbringer or a Walking Ballista. So like that would have been the kind of game where if we would have ripped the bridge off the top, it would have stemmed the bleeding and given us some more time. I kind of want to cut the Trinispheres. Or the Reality Smashers. Those are the 2 cards that I'm looking at. I mean, we're not going to be the aggressor here, so I think that cutting the Reality Smashers are fine. And probably cut one of the Trinispheres. I think that's fine. We'll do it like that. We will be on the play. This hand is a lot of mana. But I'm going to keep it. We don't have the Spyglass for Wasteland, so if they have the Wasteland draw, at least we have a lot of lands to play through it. You would like to Thoughtseize us. Sure. Grim Monolith, you say. Sure, so we're going to Vesuva, copy our Cloud Post, and play the Grim Monolith. So we have 1,000,000 mana. It's just a matter of finding something to do with it. That does qualify. So, how do we want to do this? If we play Eldrazi Temple, we're still going to have 2, 4, 6 mana. If we play Ayavugan, it's still the same difference. So we're going to go Eldrazi Temple, Endbringer. I have the Force of Will, okay. Nothing we can do there. Delver does not flip. One thing that is nice this game is we have not drawn any Ancient Tombs, so we're not doing any damage to ourselves off of our mana base. Not like we did the first game. At least it'll buy us a little extra time. But our opponent has a very fast clock. Fortunately, that Ensnaring Bridge was a good draw. I was just about to say we really need to draw an Ensnaring Bridge or in All Is Dust. So we can get 2 cards out of our hand this turn, so that will mean they can only attack with the Delver. So that Ensnaring Bridge was definitely a handy draw there. Their deck has very few ways to deal with an Ensnaring Bridge. When I was playing Death Shadow, I was playing Ratchet Bomb in my sideboard. That was one of the only ways to deal with it. So we're just going to play our spells here. We're going to try to empty our hand, and then we can reload with his Ayavugan. I would like to pay for that. Okay, so we know they have a land in hand. I'm going to play this Caracas. I want to try and save this Ayavugan if I can. That way, just in case they rip a Wasteland off the top, I don't want to I don't want to let them tag the Eye of Ugin and us not get any value out of it. So how much mana do we have currently? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if we play Eye of Ugin, we can activate it. Probably get an Endbringer. There's really no reason for us to play this GTA because we're not attacking with it at this point. So we're just going to activate the Eye of Ugin this turn. I'm going to hold on to this Grim Monolith right now. I don't want to tap it unless I really need to. They're also not attacking us with this bridge in play, so we're pretty safe for the time being. You may hit us for 1. I promise you I will not be dying to that Delver. Not unless you guys decide to deal with this Ensnaring Bridge. Yeah, there's the Wasteland. Alright, so we only get 1 shot at this. Oops, I forgot about that. So, one thing to note is when you are Eldrazi templing, you cannot use the 2 mana towards an Eye of Ugin. I think we're just going to get the Endbringer. Endbringer is just a bigger, badder version of Walking Ballista. And you get multiple uses out of it. Thought-Knot Seer. So we do not know our opponent's last card in hand. So we're going to play this Thought-Knot Seer first. They drew another land. Okay, so that means we're free to play the Endbringer. And we get to pass the turn. They found the Ratchet Bomb, so we could be in some trouble here. So we're looking for an All Is Dust. Hey, that's pretty good. So I think we're just going to slam this All Is Dust this turn. It's a really risky proposition if our opponent draws something like a Force of Will and a blue card. At least right now, our opponent only has 1 card in hand, so we know they can't Force of Will this. So I think we just have to take our window here and play it. Alright, and our opponent scoops them up. They know they're not coming back from that. Alright, so here we go. Next round. Our next game here, rather. Our opponent's going to be on the play, so this is going to be a little bit riskier. I don't think anything changes for us, though. So we're going to submit it the same. This hand, we will keep this hand. We have double Cloud Post and we have the Ensnaring Bridge. That's really aggressive. It's very rare that you want to just snap off a main phase brainstorm like that. Very rare. They him us, okay. So we do not have any plays this turn. We will have 6 mana next turn. Plays a Ratchet Bomb, sure. This is one thing that's nice about the post deck, just in general, against the control decks. You can just play Cloud Post Go, and in 3 turns you're going to have 6 mana, and they're going to have an incredibly difficult time answering whatever it is that you do. So I'm just going to make another Cloud Post here. So each one of these is currently tapping for 3. I'm not going to play an Endbringer. I'm not going to just run into a Daze for no reason. So I think we're just going to play Matter Reshaper. They're sitting here with a Ratchet Bomb. This is going to be their Ensnaring Bridge protection. So this is going to probably sit on 3 for the rest of the match. Unless we can somehow force them to blow it early, which is pretty unlikely, but depends on if they start falling behind here too much. You're going to reanimate a Street Wraith, sure. Alright, so we're going to play an Endbringer. Let's start there. Let's see, we can play a Walking Ballista for 2, or we can wait till next turn and just play a gigantic Ballista, which I think is probably better. I guess alternatively is if we play this Walking Ballista here for 2, we can theoretically shoot down the Street Wraith if they attack with it, but that seems pretty unlikely, so we're just going to hold on to it. We'll play it next turn for 1,000,000. More Endbringers, you say? Alright, so I'm going to attack with an Endbringer here first. Let's see what happens. They would like to block. Sure. And then if that is the case, I think I'm just going to play another Endbringer. Yeah, I mean, if they can't beat the board, yep, scooped them up. Alright, at least we got on the board there. After our first 2 rounds being a little bit rough, we get to come back here with a win. Hopefully can round out these last 2 matches and break even on this league. after that rough start. Come on, opponents, let's go. Trying to wrap up this league. Let's rock and roll here. Alright, let's see what we got going on. Let's see if we can find one of the matchups that we're looking for. This hand is fine. We have turn 1 Chalice. Turn 1 Chalice makes most hands better. Opponent is on a mulligan to 6. We will keep. Our opponent decided to mulligan to the bottom. This looks like this is probably Reanimator. Badlands typically signifies Reanimator. They are thought seizing us. Fortunately, we do have a Caracas in our hand. I mean, a 1/1 Walking Ballista is not doing a whole heck of a lot, but the fact that our hand doesn't do anything else, I am going to play it. One thing that's nice is we do have this 4 Leyline of the Voids in our sideboard because this Reanimator matchup is definitely rough. They are going to Thought Seize us again. Sure, my friend. I mean, it's possible that this isn't Reanimator. This could be the Grixis control deck. The fact that they're Thought Seizing us means that this could be control. Professionals that we are, we do get to draw all of our legendary lands in our opening hand. Fortunately, we only have 1 Caracas in our deck, so that one we cannot draw a double of. Trinisphere is not bad, especially when your opponent is stuck on 1 land. So needless to say, they will not be doing anything anytime soon. Oh, look at that. We managed to draw our one remaining legendary land in our deck. So, with the way this game is shaping up, I'm just going to play this other Walking Ballista here for one. Are we not allowed to do this? Apparently, Trinisphere does not allow us to do this. So X is currently 1. Yes, done. Click done to finish paying. Okay, we just had to pay for it. Weird. Okay, so we did pay 3 for our Walking Ballista. It was just weird the way the formatting was with Trinisphere Online. Alright, so they are not drawing anything of relevance. Cloud Post is a reasonable draw. That lets us make one of our Walking Ballistas bigger. So we get to go to attacks. Hit them for 2, and we're going to end step this just in case. It's very unlikely that it's going to matter, but alright, our opponent looks like he's just conceding the match here. He's F6ing. He cannot play any spells with his Trinisphere here in play, so hit him for 4 this turn, hit him for 4 next turn, and then we just get to shoot him with the ballistas. So next turn we will have lethal. Alright, so from what we've seen from our opponent, we're going to bring in the Leyline of the Voids. I think there's a very real possibility that this is Reanimator. So we're going to board like this is a control matchup, or I'm sorry, a combo deck. So we're going to bring in Thorn, and we're going to bring in Chalice of the Void. Yeah, we want all of our disruption. We want Thorn, we want Chalice, we want Leyline, Trinisphere. I'm also going to bring in the 2 bridges. They have a hard time attacking through a bridge with the Gristlebrand. Stuff we need to cut. We do not want Ratchet Bomb. We do not want Spyglass. We're going to cut at least 1 Ulamog, maybe both. This is not a Karn matchup. This is probably also not a Matter Reshaper matchup. And we're going to do it like that. It's kind of nice that this deck can play as a control deck sometimes. If you play a bridge, you can just win your game through a Walking Ballista or an Endbringer after and hide behind your bridge. Alright, so our opponent decides to keep their 7 this game. I mean, this hand is fine. We have a turn 1 Thorn. But if this is Reanimator, not having the turn 0 interaction could be really bad. So I think this is actually going to be a mulligan. This is a bit of an aggressive mulligan for sure. But if we're putting our opponent on Reanimator, I don't think we can afford to keep this hand. This hand is pretty bad. I mean, we have the Caracas, but after that we don't do anything. Yeah, we'll go to 5. Alright, this hand's better. We have the Leyline. We can try to scry into a land to play our Chalice. Yep, that's a good one. Leyline comes in play. So let's hope we put our opponent on the correct deck here. Yeah, these Thoughtseizes keep coming at us, so this is probably now, like, if they keep playing like this, that means it's going to be Grixis control. I mean, I guess there's a possibility that they're playing blue for show and tell on the sideboard, but All three of these Thoughtseizes so far have come at us. Lotus Petal, maybe not. Alright, so we're going to play the Eldrazi Temple. I'm not going to give him double black if it's relevant. I mean, I'm not going to play the Urborg for that reason. It just looks like blue-black Reanimator instead of the normal black-red version. Another Thoughtseize. Okay. They've drawn an awful lot of Thoughtseizes in these two games. We'll hold on to this Ballista for next turn. There's no reason to really blow your Grim Monolith here for no reason. You might need it later to play a bigger spell. Like if you draw an Endbringer. Opponent wants to crack their fetch. Sure. We still have yet to see a blue card out of them. Burning Wish. I mean, I guess in theory this could be Tess. The Storm deck. All we've really seen out of them so far is a pile of Thoughtseizes. Ponder, sure. That was not a bad draw. So let's see. If we decide to cast this Thought-Knot Seer here, we're going to have to use a Grim Monolith. That seems fine. We get to save this Eldrazi Temple. Let's see. So double Dark Ritual. I think we're just going to take the Burning Wish here. I mean, they can ponder, it's whatever. The Burning Wish is the only card that actually really does something. And also this way, if we get to draw a Chalice of the Void, we just set it on one and it turns off their whole hand. Thought-Knot Seer is also a faster clock. I found an LED. Alright, so we know the hand is just a pair of Dark Rituals now. So they have mana. Mana is not the issue. Alright, so now we just get to play a Walking Ballista. Speed up our clock a little bit, and hopefully this is good enough. They chose to shuffle with their Ponder, which is good news for us. So that means they're going to be drawing a random card off the top of their deck. So they're at 11. Next turn, we get to hit them for 6. So we have them on 2 turns currently. So they only get 1 more draw step. This Thorn is going to make it significantly more difficult. Which, actually, that Thorn might not even be super relevant because they have a lot of mana, so they could probably win through this even if they find something that they can use. But they should just be dead here. Alright, at least we came back there. We are currently 2-2. Round 1, we took the loss against High Tide. Round 1 was High Tide. Round 2 was the Blood Moon deck. Then we got the beat Grixis or Blue Black Shadow, and then this last round we got the beat Test Storm. So we are currently 2-2, trying to break even with this league. This hand is a keep. To go turn 1 Cloud Post, and then we get the curve into a bunch of creatures. Our opponent is on the mulligan to 6. We are on the draw again. Basic Mountain is bad for us. I mean, we're playing against Burn, so they are going to demolish us with Price of Progress. So this could be a very rough pairing if we don't draw Chalice of the Voids. So at this point, we're just kind of hoping our opponent has an anemic draw. I mean, Thought-Knot Seer and Matter Reshapers are good against them. So our best draw here is probably a Chalice of the Void. Not an Eldrazi Temple. I mean, that at least lets us play a Matter Reshaper. Well, that's good news for us that they didn't attack. I'm going to lead on the Cloud Post here. So this is going to let us play our Thought-Knot Seer. We get to see what's going on, and then next turn we can play Glimmer Post into something. Most of these times these decks don't play stuff like Skullcrack. Yeah, I mean, that's going to get us no matter what. We're definitely really can't play around Price of Progress, so... Alright, so we do need to remember that they have a Fire Blast. So there's a reasonable chance that they want to Fire Blast our Thought-Knot Seer. So let's say if they draw, they could Fire Blast our Thought-Knot Seer. That'll be 2 from the Swift Spear, plus another Price of Progress is going to be lethal. But I'm going to attack with the Matter Reshaper here. We do need to get some kind of a clock going, and we need to try to kill them at some point here. So we can't just sit behind our creatures the whole time. And if they want to trade here, I'm perfectly fine with that. So we're going to need them to brick off here a couple draw steps. Swift Spear, sure. So if they Fire Blast... Nope, they're going to save it. Okay. Alright, Chalice of the Void is probably going to go on... I mean, it could go on 1 because they have more 1 spells, but the 2s are more impact, or a higher impact. Glimmer Post lets us gain 3, which is a little bit of a cushion. So I think we're actually going to play this on 1. They have more 1-drops in their deck than they do 2s. So it's probably worth us to just play this Chalice on 1. So let's see, we have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. That's going to allow us to play Chalice down to 7, down to 4, and a 2/2 Walking Ballista. So we actually get to play everything here. So we're going to attack with both of our creatures first. And that'll still leave us with 2 chump blockers. We could also hold this Walking Ballista for a big fireball next turn. Let's see how if they decide to block or not. That one Glimmer Post turn could actually win us this game. I mean, we're still dead to a Price of Progress, but they have 3 left in their deck. They do want to block. Okay. So that means they're casting Fire Blast to save their Swift Spears. They're Fire Blasting us down to 7. And we get to kill 1 Swift Spear. Okay, so they do get to draw a card here. Play the Chalice on 1. They do get the chance to respond here in case they drew a Lightning Bolt, but they did not. Okay, so we can play our Matter Reshaper. So let's see, how much mana are we going to have next turn? We can either play Walking Ballista for 2, or let's see, we'll have, if we play the Grim Monolith, we're going to have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 mana next turn, which will be a 5/5 Walking Ballista. I think we'll play the Grim Monolith. This gives us the out to potentially have lethal next turn, depending on what happens with our opponent. Alright, so we're just going to attack. If they take 6, we can just kill them with the Ballista. And they scoop them up. Alright, that was a nice little comeback there. Our opponent had to blow their Fire Blast to kill the Thought-Knot Seer, which definitely helped us out. Okay, so we get to bring in our Thorns and our Jites. The rest of the sideboard is not going to be good enough. So Spyglass will get the cut. Karn will get the cut, as will Ulamog. That should be it. Yes, that will be our deck. Alright, here we go, game 2. Alright, so we will be on the draw this game. Definitely makes it a little bit worse. This hand... So we have a Glimmer Post. And we have a turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer, which is good. So we will keep. Our opponent is on a mulligan to 6. They are keeping their 6 and scrying to the top. Chain Lightning us. Okie doke. Trinisphere is an acceptable draw. So how would we like to sequence our lands here? So we want to try to gain the maximum amount of life out of this Glimmer Post if it's possible. If we go Glimmer Post this turn, we do not have access to the Thought-Knot Seer. So I think we're actually going to lead on Eldrazi Temple. If we lead on Eldrazi Temple, we can go Temple, Eye of Ugin, player turn 2 Thought-Knot, and then we can play something like Ancient Tomb to play Trinisphere on the next turn. Or I guess alternatively, we can go Cloud Post this turn into a Ancient Tomb Trinisphere on the following turn. So it's more a matter of what we want to play on turn 2. If we want to play the Thought-Knot on turn 2, or if we want to play the Trinisphere. Trinisphere drastically slows down the burn deck, but so does Thought-Knot Seer. I think we're going to go for the turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer. Especially because this way, if they play a creature, we get to brick wall their creature. Or if they play an Eidolon, we don't take damage from the Eidolon. I mean, if they miss a land drop here, we can still consider playing the Trinisphere, but another Thought-Knot Seer. Alright, so we're just going to do probably the Thought-Knot Seer train. They have 2 lands in play, so they might be able to get out from underneath this. Now, it's nice, we do get to take their Price of Progress. So that is a nice bonus. They have a Lightning Bolt, so I mean, we can block the Goblin Guide and they can Lightning Bolt our Thought-Knot Seer, but that's a fine exchange for us. If that's what they choose to do. They might just fire off a Firecraft here and have it over with. Be more mana efficient. they want to Firecraft our Thought-Knot Seer. That's totally fine. This way, it allows us to get. This gives us a window to play our Cloud Post and play another Thought-Knot Seer. So we get to take a burn spell out of their hand, either the Lightning Bolt or if they drew another one. Smash Smithereens. That's okay. We don't. So we just now we're not going to play our Trinisphere, which is so they have a brick in their hand. We get to take the Lightning Bolt. We should be in good shape this game. If they attack, we're blocking. We're totally fine if they want to point a burn spell at our Thought-Knot Seer. Eidolon, sure. So we can actually play Chalice on 2. If we play Chalice on 2, that's going to let us counter their Smash. And it shuts off Price of Progress from being an out. That's probably what we're going to do here. Our other option is just to play Smasher and start attacking for 1,000,000. That's not bad either. Alright, so I think we're going to play the Chalice for 2. So we can play Vesuva and copy Cloud Post. Cloud Post will tap for 2. Temple is 1, so we can't do it that way. We have otherwise we can play, if we play Glimmer Post, that'll give us 2, 3, 4, so we have to play the Glimmer Post here. This being able to shut off Price of Progress gives us a lot of insurance. Our opponent just conceded. Okay. Yeah, they knew they weren't coming back from that. But, alright. Well, that was a nice little win there. We got to come back from a bad start to the league. We had a couple rough pairings in the first 2 rounds, and at least we were able to come back and salvage a 3-2. So, this, as a deck as a whole, I mean, I do kind of enjoy playing the deck. I mean, it was unfortunate we didn't get any of the pairings that we actually wanted to see. I mean, in the beginning of the video, we were talking about how prevalent the control decks are in the format. But if you don't play against any of the control decks, I mean, this deck is a little lackluster. I mean, this is definitely a metagame deck. Playing against all of the combo decks and stuff like that, I mean, you're a little weak game 1, but you're better post board. So, obviously, this depends on what you're planning on playing against. Anyway, if you're still watching, I do want to say thank you very much. We are going to be doing a lot of Modern and Legacy content on this channel. Currently doing a lot of Legacy testing. We have Eternal Weekend coming up here soon to try and figure out what we're going to play. If you like the decks, if you like the channel, please give me a like, please give me a subscribe. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.